Hello everyone. In this revision lesson today, we'll be discussing a question from October-November 2024, variant 1-2. This particular question that we see in front of us is question number 2. It is of 4 marks and is divided into two parts of 2 marks each, 2A and 2B. From the study by Baron Cohen et al., outline one result in relation to sex of participants and the scores on the reading the minds and the eyes test. If we have a closer look at this, the command word over here is outline. Whenever the examiner uses this word outline, you're expected to set out the main points. If you have a look at the syllabus, you'd come across a list of command words that would help you understand what the examiner means when a particular command word is used. Taking this ahead, so you're expected to outline one result. Now, remember, if you have a closer look, you see the examiner has underlined the word one. The examiner has underlined the word one over here because I've seen many students using more than one result, or you providing more than what is required. You're not supposed to do that, because if you do that, you're not gaining anything out of it anyway. Would you get would you get 2 marks out of 2 by providing two results that are do not provide an in-depth understanding? No, you wouldn't. So you're expected to provide one result only. Having a quick look at the example that has been provided to us. This example over here reads, males from the general population scored lower than male students or female students. But before that, let's quickly have a look at the marking criteria. If we have a look at the marking criteria, the examiner says you'd get 2 marks for the result with a meaningful comparison. So the result has to have a meaningful comparison for you to be able to score 2 marks out of 2. Now, males from the general population scored lower than male students or female students. Now, this particular study that was conducted by Baron Cohen et al., you're expected to provide a result, right? So the comparison might look at the differences in how males and females perform on the test, but also between different types of participants, such as students versus people from the general population. Now, I am focusing, or I'm emphasizing on this because I feel many students might get confused over here as to why males are being compared with males when the questionnaire where the question is very clearly asking for one result in relation to the sex of participants. So just to help you understand this better, you need to know that the examiner over here says that the examiner would also give you marks when you're talking about a comparison between different type of participants. I wouldn't have done that if I was a student, but it is the way it is. This is the marking scheme. Now, having a look at this particular example that I've just highlighted, I just put it up in a blue box here. This particular example that we see. Now, this example provides a meaningful comparison because it shows a specific difference between two groups, the general population males versus student males and females, which highlights a gap in performance. Now, if I compare this with the second example that is provided to us, where the student would not score 2 and 2, or where the student would not score 2 and 2 2 out of 2 marks, but would lose a mark. Now this example, if a student writes males scored lower than females, I do accept that this is a valid comparison, but they're less specific. You as a student, you're less specific as you're not identifying the group that you're comparing it with, which reduces the depth of the finding. So for you to score a 2 on 2, make sure that you're providing a meaningful comparison. If we have a quick look at the guidance that has been provided to us by the examiner, do not credit judgment responses like better or worse. Do not credit normal group or control group by itself. You need to be specific about a group. Credit any combination across group 2 and group 3. Remember, group 2 was the general population and group 3 had students from Cambridge. Do not credit responses about group number 1, that is the Asperger syndrome and high functioning autism, as all of them were males, and group number 4, that is IQ controls, these were never analyzed by sex. So except no significant difference between males and females in group 2 or 3. So even if you're writing this, so except no significant difference between males and females in group 2 or 3, this would uh, give you 2 marks. Now, taking this ahead, moving on to question number 2B. The second question over here, the second part of the question over here reads, explain one weakness of the study. Now, the command word over here is explain. And whenever the examiner uses this word explain, here you go. Whenever the examiner uses the word explain, you are expected to set out purposes or reasons, make the relationship between things clear, say why and or how, and support with relevant evidence. So this I'm reading from the command word explanation provided in the syllabus. For this one, you'd get 1 mark for the identification of weakness. However, you'd get 1 mark for explaining the weakness via an example from the study. So if you're just writing down about a weakness from a weakness in general from the study, you'd receive 1 mark. But if you're linking it with the with any particular part or content from the study or the research paper, that is when you get 2 on 2 marks. Now, having a look at this example, lacks generalizability. Even if you simply write this lacks generalizability, remember group number 1 had all males. So if group number 1 had all males, you would end up you write this, you'd simply get 1 mark. But if you want to score a 2 on 2, you'd be expected to write more. Now, for instance, lacks generalizability as the sample size for Asperger's syndrome and high functioning autism was small and they may be unique. So you're getting 1 mark for explaining in context as well. All males, they were all males. So it was, remember the participants in group number 1, they were all males. So it is difficult to generalize the findings to females as well. Now, you could write a weakness in terms of generalizability. You could write a weakness in terms of mundane realism. You could write a weakness in terms of the research lacking or not being able to follow the ethical guidelines properly. So if we talk about this first weakness that we have written over here, uh, the sample included a relatively small number of participants with autism spectrum disorder or high functioning autism, and they were mostly what they were all males. Because of this, it is difficult to generalize the findings to females or to a larger, more diverse group. For example, the study found that females generally performed better than males on the test, but since the autism spectrum disorder or high functioning autism sample was predominantly male, we cannot assume that this result would apply to females with autism spectrum disorder as well. Now, another example that we could use about mundane realism. The task of looking at pairs of static eyes and guessing the emotion they express isn't something we would typically do in everyday life. And it is which makes it a very artificial task that may not reflect how we process our emotion in natural social interactions, which of course reduces the ecological validity of the study. The third example that we see over here is about psychological distress. The individuals in the autistic group may have felt frustrated or distressed by the difficulty in identifying emotions, especially knowing that they were expected to score lower on the test. This could have made participants feel uncomfortable, potentially affecting their performance as well. Another example that another weakness that we could possibly put to use over here is in terms of the difficulty the researchers faced in controlling participant variables. Now, since the study involved different groups with varying conditions, it was challenging to control all participant related factors like the severity of autism, maybe, which could influence how individuals performed. So, you could use any of the weakness that you see over here, this one, or maybe this one, and I hope by now you know how you'd be able to score a 2 on 2. So, except any reasonable weakness, it could be a practical weakness, a methodological weakness, or ethical weakness. Now, a practical weakness over here was the difficulty in terms of controlling participant variables. Methodological weakness was the was about how the first group, that is the autistic group, lacked or did not have females in it, and hence the findings could not be generalizable to females. An ethical issue or an ethical weakness over here could be the psychological distress that the participants from group number 1 had encountered. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.